All right, let's get right into it. I want you to forget everything you think you know about saunas. Seriously, we are not talking about some gentle spa day relaxation here. We're talking about heat as a strategic weapon, a powerful biological tool you can use to forge a stronger, more resilient version of yourself.
Now really let this question sink in for a second. What if you had a cheat code for your cardiovascular system? A way to put your heart through a legit workout, forcing it to adapt and get stronger, all without taking a single step. I know, it sounds like something out of science fiction, right? Well, the science says it is very, very real.
So the key concept here is what scientists call an exercise mimetic. And it turns out, intense heat exposure is one of the most powerful ones we've ever found. It basically tricks your body. Your heart rate can shoot up to 150 beats per minute. That's the same as a moderate cardio session. Your body has no choice but to adapt, to get more efficient, just like it would if you were pounding the pavement on a run.
This is why we have to completely reframe this experience. Stepping into a hot sauna isn't passive. It's an active process called hormesis. You're applying a very specific, controlled dose of stress to make your entire system stronger. Think of it like a biological forge. You are the steel, and that intense heat is tempering you, making you fundamentally more resistant to future damage.
But here's where it gets really cool. What's happening on a microscopic level. When your cells get hit with this intense heat, they basically sound an alarm. And in response, your body deploys this elite internal maintenance team. These are your heat shock proteins. Think of them like a rapid response repair crew for your cells.
And this breaks down their mission perfectly. First, you've got the stress. That intense heat actually causes proteins inside your cells to get all mangled and misfolded. Then, the response. Your body floods the area with these heat shock proteins, or HSPs. They immediately get to work on the repair, hunting down those damaged proteins and literally refolding them back into their correct, usable shapes. It's a deep cellular cleanup. But the whole point is this last step, resilience. Your cells come out of this process stronger and way more prepared for the next time stress comes knocking.
Look, the cardiovascular benefits alone are a total game changer. But that is not the headline here. Not even close. The most profound, the most absolutely shocking discovery to come out of all this research, it had nothing to do with physical endurance. It was all about protecting our most vital organ from one of its most feared diseases.
65%. Just look at that number for a second. Let it sink in. In the world of medicine and longevity, getting a number this big from something that isn't a pharmaceutical drug, it's almost unheard of.
This is the mind-blowing conclusion from Dr. Jerry Lakinen's huge study in Finland. And this wasn't some small, short-term thing. They followed over 2,300 men for an average of 20 years. The results were undeniable. Frequent sauna use was linked to a 65% reduction in the risk of developing Alzheimer's. I mean, that is a pharmaceutical-grade effect from sitting in a hot box.
And let's just look at the hard data. This wasn't some all-or-nothing deal. The study showed a really powerful dose-dependent relationship. So the guys using the sauna just once a week, that's our baseline. But then you look at the group that hit the sweet spot, 4 to 7 sessions a week. That's who saw that unbelievable 65% lower risk. The takeaway is crystal clear. The more you do it, the more protection you get.
Now, as incredible as protecting your brain is, it's actually just one piece of the puzzle. You really need to think of deliberate heat exposure as a full system update for your body. It kicks off this whole cascade of positive changes that upgrade your biology from head to toe, from your muscles to your hormones.
Okay, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking. So how does this fit in with cold plunges? Great question. There are two totally different tools for two different jobs. Cold exposure is fantastic for jacking up your dopamine and crushing inflammation. But heat? Heat plays a different game. It mimics your cardio, it helps you preserve the muscle you already have, and, this is a big one, it massively boosts growth hormone, which is something cold exposure can actually get in the way of if you do it right after a workout.
And when I say massively, I am not kidding. A regular sauna session can double or even quintuple your growth hormone levels. And get this, some of the more extreme protocols have been shown to trigger up to a 16-fold increase. So why do we care? Well, growth hormone is basically the fountain of youth hormone. It is absolutely essential for repairing damaged tissue, holding on to muscle mass, and just keeping your body running young on a cellular level. Okay, so the science is overwhelming, but how do we actually put it into practice? Because this isn't about just randomly sitting in a warm room. The studies point to a very specific blueprint, a precise protocol that you have to follow to unlock all these amazing benefits. First things first, temperature. You've got to get hot enough to actually trigger that beneficial stress response. The research is clear on this one. You need to be at a minimum of 80 degrees Celsius, which is about 176 Fahrenheit. Any cooler than that, and you're just not really firing up that biological forge.
All right, next up, duration. How long do you have to stay in that heat? The sweet spot, according to that same Finnish study, starts at 20 minutes per session. They found that the protective effects really kicked in for sessions that were just over 19 minutes. So, make 20 minutes your minimum target.
And finally, we have frequency. And honestly, this might just be the most important part of the whole equation. Remember that incredible 65% risk reduction for Alzheimer's? Well, the data is unambiguous. That benefit was found in the group doing this 4 to 7 times a week. It's that consistency that turns this from something that feels nice into a powerful tool for your health.
So, let's wrap this up. Here's your mission brief. First, you have to reframe the sauna as a non-negotiable part of your workout routine, not a luxury. Second, your goal is to intentionally activate that cellular repair crew, your heat shock proteins. Third, you're doing this to build a biological shield against brain degeneration. And finally, your blueprint is the protocol, 80 degrees Celsius or hotter for 20 minutes or more, 4 to 7 times every single week.
And I really want to leave you with this one last thought. When you look at all this data, especially the potential to literally slash your risk for one of the worst diseases of aging, the question completely flips on its head. It's no longer about, can I find the time for this? It's about, can I really afford not to?